Good journey, everyone. Welcome to Space Oats Live, a Star Wars podcast. I am the Crucial Crew member, or Jay, whatever you want. Hope everybody is doing fantastic. Man, I know we all want to talk about it. I know we all want to talk about the Acolyte and everything that was announced that was dropped this week. Um, Crazy. We will get to that. We will talk about the Acolyte. We will talk about the trailer, the key art, the poster art, the Disney Plus release art, the characters, everything. We're gonna get to that. But we also got this little thing going on called the Bad Batch. Still, it is still here. It's here for a good while still. We got till what is it? We're only halfway through the season. So we got a lot of Bad Batch still to go. And then we'll have a month, a break, um, where we'll be celebrating May the 4th, little thing called May the 4th. Probably a lot of celebration for the Phantom Menace in May because, you know, it'll be the anniversary of the Phantom Menace. But, and then we go to the Acolyte in June, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Acolyte. We got a lot of Bad Batch to talk about. We're not going to talk about this week's episode. We're not going to talk about this week's episode. Last week, we had two episodes that dropped. We're going to talk about those two episodes. And then we got some other news that was announced. So, some other releases that have happened today and that also are coming out soon. And we're looking forward to those. So we'll talk a little bit about those releases. Some new merchandise that was released, just announced today. So in part of Imperial March, the merch for Imperial March, the Imperial merch for Imperial March. It's so confusing. But we got some stuff with that we're going to talk about. And then we have this thing that I like to do each and every day, talk a little bit about some Star Wars history not long ago in this galaxy. So we're going to start off with that, not long ago in this galaxy. How about that? If you saw my post from today, you saw this picture, the one that's up here, from the Phantom Menace. The Phantom Menace shot here at the end of the movie. Senator Palpatine meeting Anakin Skywalker for the first time, with Anakin with his new surrogate master since Qui-Gon was taken out by Darth Maul. Such a pity. Must have hit him in the wrong spot because so many people have gotten stabbed by lightsabers since then and have lived to tell the tale. But Qui-Gon, unfortunately, did not. So sometimes I wonder if it's just the Jedi just like it's their time and they give up. There was a lot of conflict with Qui-Gon Jinn and the Council and everything, and maybe this was just his way of pushing Obi-Wan to become the great Jedi that he became to be, kind of letting him go, and giving into the Force. I mean, we all know that Qui-Gon he was the first one to be able to become one with the Force that we know of. So, and be able to commune with the other Jedi from after death. So maybe this was his way of doing that. But going back to this scene, this scene actually, March the 20th, 1998 was filmed. This scene right here. It was actually a pickup shot for episode 1. So it was something that they revisited. It needed some sort of kind of introduction for them to, because, we weren't going to see them until much later. And in Attack of the Clones, we already know that Palpatine and Anakin have a relationship. So I think this scene was pivotal to be able to introduce those two characters. Palpatine once meeting Anakin, kind of knowing what's happened, him saving the day at only 8 years old. And Yes, the line, we're going to watch your career with great interest. And knowing that basically his master, well, who was going to be his master, Qui-Gon was going to train him, believed in him, no longer being there, that kind of like father figure being absent all of a sudden, and Obi-Wan kind of reluctant to take him as a Padawan. This is kind of like that first little like swoop in that Palpatine does. Uh, connecting with Anakin. Um, and then you can kind of imagine like how that, mentorship continued on as a father figure type of thing that Palpatine um, probably did. But this was filmed at Leavesden Film Studios in England. Like I said, it was the last pickup shot for Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, where Palpatine meets Anakin Skywalker for the first time. So, very pivotal moment, I believe. Yeah, so kind of carrying off of, I mean, obviously Qui-Gon was like a father figure. Obi-Wan Kenobi, even though Anakin kind of says he's like a father, he's more like a brother. You can kind of see that the way they interact with each other in Attack of the Clones, and it's said later, um, in Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan basically telling Anakin, he was his brother in a sense. They were connected in that way. They were kind of best friends, fighting alongside each other for the most of the Clone Wars. Not really being master and apprentice, but more kind of like brothers in arms as Jedi. And so, yeah, Anakin really didn't have a father figure, never did have a father. So this is where Palpatine kind of took the reins in that way. If Qui-Gon would have lived on, maybe things, I don't know if things would have ended up differently. Maybe Qui-Gon saw the future, had visions of the future, and yeah, who knows what his visions kind of told him. But we know that he was absent, so we don't know how that would have played out. But Obi-Wan more of a brother, not ever really being like the master that like we see the master in Padawan. And I think that I mean, Anakin was always prone to the attachment, the passion, the connections, which kind of drove him to the dark side. I think Qui-Gon, had his differences as well with the Jedi. So who knows what would have happened if he was still around, if it would have played out differently or not. I don't really think it would have, honestly. But yeah, so this shot happening 1998, March the 20th. A little bit of other some other not long ago in this galaxy, some other Star Wars history. We have a Clone Wars episode. Well, the final episode of the season 1 of the Clone Wars happened today, not long ago in this galaxy. This was in 2009. The last episode of season 1 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars aired in the U.S. Was Hostage Crisis. Hostage Crisis was eventually had a story arc, but it wasn't until later on. So chronologically, this is kind of out of order. Chronologically out of order. Aura Singh was in this episode, as well as Cad Bane, and a couple other bounty hunters, commando droids, and so forth, as they infiltrated the Imperial Senate. Anakin kind of taking a little meditative retreat, as he kind of says, from the Clone Wars, and using that to secretly spend time with Padme, giving up his lightsaber, showing how he, is committed more to her than the Jedi Order, kind of in a way. trying to get her to kind of get away from what her duties were, but she didn't. She had her duties. Bail Organa kind of comes and interrupts them. She kind of has his lightsaber, so he's kind of left without it. And then all these senators are trapped by the bounty hunters in a ploy to basically gather these hostages to free Zero the Hutt. It looks like that they're hired by Zero the Hutt. Zero, of course, there at the beginning of the Clone Wars, being the one who connected the Jabba the Hutt's kidnapping. He instigated that, along with Count Dooku and the Confederacy of Independent Systems. So Zero actually, being freed from the bounty hunters in this way, it actually worked. It succeeded. The senator is almost perishing, but Anakin ended up getting with them, getting his lightsaber back, and getting them out of the Senate building before the explosion happened. So, Hostage Crisis, really good episode. It ended up having the highest ratings of season 1. So it was good to see season 1 close off very high in viewership and people wanting more. So, which I'm sure ended up getting this continued to be renewed on Cartoon Network at the time and continuing on. How great is Aura Singh, by the way? I would love to see more of her in live action, but I almost see it virtually impossible at this point. Unless, maybe showing up in Andor, maybe. It's a possibility. I mean, yes, it was said that she's dead, but is she really? I mean, in Solo, he said he pushed her, but falls. Do falls really kill everybody? Who knows? She might have survived. We might see her. It would be great to actually see her show up. We think she's dead, but she's not. She shows up somewhere in the Mandalorian era, Mandoverse, around there. I think she could. People think she's dead. She's really not. I think it would be a really cool character to have. So, Aura Singh, really awesome. One of my favorite bounty hunters, honestly. So I would love to see more. It's just a mystery of her. We don't see her much except for in animation. I would love to see more of Aura Singh. So, but yeah, Hostage Crisis, the last episode of season 1, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, aired today, March the 20th in 2009. 2009. But we're also continuing on in the Clone Wars in a amazing way by the means of the Bad Batch. The Bad Batch continuing on. We're about halfway through the season. I mean, kind of halfway through. We're actually only a third of the way through the season because we still have, yeah, we got 1 month. We're halfway through. A little bit less than halfway through because we got until the end of May. End of March, April. I don't know how months go. We got until the end of April, until the Bad Batch is over. So we're carrying on this Clone Wars family by means of the Bad Batch, and there were so many ties to the beginnings in last week's 2 episodes. Again, we're talking about last week's 2 episodes. So the episodes Infiltration and Extraction, which was really good. These 2 were tied together. It was a good connected story arc that I think in the pace that they needed to be back to back because Infiltration was more so not the Bad Batch, and then the episode of Extraction was more so connected to the Bad Batch. So Infiltration started out with Rio Chuchi, which we've seen so many times in the Bad Batch, in the Clone Wars, the Pantoran senator, which Love her. Love her. I would love to see her actually in live action too. In Andor, maybe. You know, it would be really cool to be able to see her show up live action in Andor. It would be really amazing to see her still around. But she has a meeting with Avi Singh. Avi Singh we've never seen before, I don't think. And he is a senator from, I think, a senator or a governor or something, but of Raxus. Raxus, very tied into the Confederate of Independent Systems. Very wealthy planet. But yeah, they're kind of meeting together to discuss an alliance in a way. And I love how they're doing it over tea, right? It's so funny. What a kind of interesting little opening. Reminded me of the Clone Wars episode on Christophsis when Obi-Wan Kenobi was negotiating his surrender. And he's like negotiating over tea as like a joke. I don't know if it was a callback to that or not, but kind of funny little. I thought of that when I was like watching this, but I love the look. He's like, I don't know. He kind of reminds me of the Monopoly Man. Um, he reminds me of the Monopoly Man a little bit, but yeah, it was a cool little opening. So the secret meeting here, this team, them kind of forming an alliance together, and of course the Empire, gets word of this, so they send in the clone X Trooper. And I honestly don't know if like we've like heard of this, like if it's actually been named yet, the clone X Trooper. But that's what they're saying as far as in the descriptions of the episodes. The clone X Trooper. I don't know if it's been said on in the episode yet. I kind of drawing a blank there. But yeah, so these are these clones that are kind of engineered, kind of created as almost like Manchurian candidates, kind of a way. But yeah, so this clone X Trooper shows up to basically shut down this meeting. To shut down this meeting, and yeah, so and where is this happening? Where is this happening? Where do we actually get the bulk of this episode from? We are going back to the planet Teth. And if you remember, this is where the Clone Wars started. Again, a great callback to the first episode. Looks a lot different because if you remember, Teth was the monastery. Well, that's where the monastery was, where they were holding Jabba the Hutt's son as prisoner in the first Clone Wars movie kickoff, animated movie. And it looks a lot, I mean, obviously it looks a lot different because remember, that place was pretty much destroyed in the end. So we're actually going back, we're seeing the ruins of the monastery, that abandoned monastery on Teth. So the planet Teth, going back to there. I think this is the first time that we've gone back to Teth. And that's, going back to where the Clone Wars began, kind of getting these revisits to these planets, which is really cool to be able to kind of see that. And yeah, so that was really cool to be able to have that callback. Of Teth in this episode. We get to see the Clone X Troopers' targets, and we know that Omega is included in that. So we learn that obviously it's a take alive, because we know that Tantus Hemlock wants Omega alive because Hemlock is not for sure, but he's seen the results of the M count compatibility with Omega, which is what he's looking for. So the Clone X Trooper basically has the bounty puck with Omega as well as one of the targets. In addition to Senator Chuchi. So Senator Chuchi obviously is somebody that they've been trying to take out. We remember that Senator Chuchi was targeted by one of the Clone X Troopers the first time we've seen the Clone X Troopers, and we found out about them. But now we kind of know where they've come from and what they're designed to do, and we again see that Senator Chuchi is still on the list of a target. Of course, that is dead or dead, pretty much take out. But Omega is the other one, which Omega is, alive, to take alive. So, so we see that Clone X Trooper having those targets, and we also kind of see like the insanity of these Clone X Troopers, that they're kind of brainwashed. They're clones, but they really don't have any semblance of them being clones anymore. They're engineered. They've been totally reworked, kind of like the Winter Soldier type of deal, where they don't know what they're doing except for to follow orders. So it's kind of taken that chip and just enforced it, enhanced it to the point where they're taking orders and they're following orders with no thought of their own. They don't even have the ability to self think, which is where a lot of the clones have been kind of breaking down. So Hemlock, I guess, charged with like taking them and reprogramming them in a way, which you kind of wonder, this is kind of almost like a precursor to the First Order troopers. You wonder if this is something that is a foreshadow of the First Order reprogramming and doing it in a way that doesn't affect them in the insanity way that we see these Clone X Troopers, but kind of raising them and maybe gradually reprogramming them, and not to the degree that they have to do with the Clone Troopers, because they're limited in time. They're already older, but the First Order Troopers, it's kind of like they take them at a young age and they start on that process. So this kind of could be like, again, the scientific division of the Empire. We're kind of seeing foreshadows of what is to come later on. We're planting these seeds of everything that we've seen so far. And I think this is kind of like a foreshadow to the First Order Trooper, and what they may have done with the First Order Troopers and the reprogramming in a way. But obviously we know that didn't work. That failed as well, with Finn kind of deciding not to follow through on orders as well. So you can't take humanity out of someone's thought process, which is a pretty cool little life lesson, as you will. But you can see the insanity of the Clone X Troopers just by that maniacal laugh that we hear as he's captured and they're interrogating him. We find out that he is not the only one that's been dispatched. There's another Clone X Trooper that comes to Teth as well. What a great shot that is. This one's like kind of like Crosshair this time. We know that kind of Crosshair, this is possibly what they were trying to engineer him to do. I think we've kind of had that confirmed, that they were trying to engineer him in a way to become a Clone X Trooper, but possibly because of his defectiveness, being one of the Bad Batch, it not working. But he still has some side effects from that. And so CX2, or so kind of the Clone X Troopers, CX1, CX2. CX2 engages the targets, and we kind of get this cool cliffhanger at the end of the episode, and we get some cool stuff in the next episode that followed right after, Extraction. So Extraction was the second of the two, and it started off really awesome because we got to see a familiar face got to see a familiar face come back, Commander Wolf, clone trooper Commander Wolf, comes in with Delta Squad as well as some other troopers, and he doesn't really care too much for this trooper and the way that he's handling the situation. So obviously he comes in and he says, I'm in charge now, and kind of puts that out there. But the Clone X trooper not really, still following his agenda in a way. So I'm actually watching it right now. But yeah, so Wolf not really trusting this CX2 trooper, doesn't really know what his actual agenda is, and a little bit suspicious of this trooper and where he's come from and what his orders are. But again, nice to see Clone Commander Wolf back in action at the end. We know he survives. We know he ends up with Rex. Wolf and Gregor do. So we know he turns around. And we kind of see this at the end of the episode. But we see Crosshair still obviously with his tremor, having issues when he's engaging the Clone X trooper, kind of like having to work around this and figure out ways to deal with this, instead of being able to actually target him directly because he's having trouble aiming because of his tremors. Instead using other tactics, and instead he kind of takes him out by blowing up a piece of the surroundings and engages the CX2 trooper. Really cool battle between the two of them, kind of near a waterfall. I love these daggers that keep showing up. They're really cool. These vibro dagger things. But really cool battle between Crosshair and the Clone X trooper, the CX2 trooper, with the CX2 trooper ending up going over the falls. Also, Crosshair kind of gaining the trust of some of the other clones like Rex, who were suspicious in the beginning of these episodes of the clones of Crosshair. But and then we kind of almost get this like standoff at the end, which honestly I didn't know how this was going to go. But it was nice to see kind of like Commander Wolf kind of, they had him in sights, and then that talking to Wolf, like, think about it. Think about what the orders are here, and Wolf actually making this decision to let his brothers go with Omega. So interesting to know, like, what's going to happen to Wolf. How quickly is he going to have to go AWOL, or is he going to be sent to Tantus, and is that going to be another like draw to go back to Tantus to free everyone in the end of these last couple episodes? So and then kind of like summing up the end of the episode, knowing that Omega was a target, gets the clones kind of thinking, as far as Rex kind of discussing with Hunter why, what's the importance of Omega, what's the mystery here, and really needing to find out in order to keep Omega safe. They really have to know what the reasons are, why is the Empire after her. So and that kind of carried us into a little bit of a side adventure for this week's episode, but kind of needed, because they really are trying to find out what this whole M count thing is, which again takes us back to some cool connections. So this week's episode was really great. If you haven't watched it yet, please watch it. I'm not going to discuss it tonight because it just dropped. just dropped. I know people are busy, so we're not going to go ahead and discuss this week's episode of the Bad Batch tonight. So what we are going to discuss is the amazingness of this week's drop. But honestly, like, I love how, like, we're revisiting the High Republic. So I'm so behind on the High Republic, but after watching this week's episode, the trailer of the Acolyte, I'm curious as to know, like, what. I mean, there was only one character. I think it was only one character that is in the trailer that has been talked about or written about in the High Republic stage so far. So the Acolyte seems like it's taking place after all the events of the High Republic novels and publications thus far, phase 1 through 3. But how much is it gonna? I mean, I know that they're not gonna, like, make this series where it's gonna be a must to read all of this, but how much more so is it going to be beneficial if you've read everything that's happened so far? I'm wondering. I kind of want to know what might be essential to read before the Acolyte comes out. Which, and I'm guessing the ones that have to do with the character that's in the trailer that has been mentioned in the High Republic already. But I'm curious. I'm curious to know, like, what should I read? What should I not read? Because there's so much out there right now. I mean, we have 3 phases. But they keep, like, uploading on StarWars.com the chronological order, how to read it in order, all of that, the essential reading of the High Republic, and and it makes me want to just dive right in, but I know I don't have the time to do so. But I'm curious as to know, like, how much beneficial it's going to be. But let's talk about the Acolyte, by the way. First off, this art is amazing. And this art, I feel, is I feel it's Octo. Like, honestly, it looks like Octo, which would be really cool if we're going back to Octo. It just has this feeling. A couple of the other scenes in the trailer look like Octo as well, from different areas. So I'm wondering if we're going to go back to Octo. I mean, look how peaceful it looks in this one with the sunset. But that is definitely the character there is definitely May. I guess May. I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation of May. But May is, my guess, the Acolyte. But the Acolyte of what? Is the question. The Acolyte of who is the question. But I believe that May is the one. I believe that May is the one in the trailer that we see as a child. That when they ask, close your eyes and what do you see? I believe it's her. It's going to be a flashback of her saying fire. So later on, you see in the trailer her running through the woods with fire. So I'm thinking that's maybe a foreshadow of what she's seen as a child. But I love the key art here. Like, honestly, it's so beautiful. That art. But everything is just, like, so exciting. Like, everything that's come out so far. The poster, the release poster. In an age of light, a darkness arises. So, the High Republic, the height of the Jedi, basically at this time, and it's, a darkness arises. I honestly don't think we're going Sith here, though. Like, I mean, yes, to an extent, but I think it's kind of deceitful. especially with some of the other characters that are in, like Dark Jedi might be more of a term that we use rather than Sith for these characters that are dark. Because I'm still carrying off of, and this was mentioned by somebody else online, that, Ki-Adi-Mundi basically in the Phantom Menace said that the Sith have not been seen for a millennium. So if they've been in the shadows that long, we're only 100 years before the Phantom Menace. Is it really Sith that we're seeing, or is this series going to end where basically all the witnesses are taken out? Or at least the witnesses of the true Sith behind the Acolyte. Because I don't think May is going to be the Sith. I think there's somebody else puppeteering this, and I have thoughts on that, of who that might be. But I love the lightsaber with the blood. Obviously, this is going to be a kind of like a murder mystery serial killer type deal, with the Acolyte just hunting down Jedi, as we've kind of seen from the trailer. So I kind of like the way that this is brought to the fold. But June 4th is the premiere, 2-episode premiere they've announced. It's on a Tuesday night, so I'm guessing they're going to do the Tuesday night thing. I don't think it's going to be a Monday night midnight thing. I think it's going to be a Tuesday night, 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 6 o'clock on the West Coast. So another reason why I'm glad I'm doing this on Wednesdays now, because of that Tuesday night drop thing. But yeah, so that way I don't have to stay up too late to watch it. But so exciting. We'll only have a month after Bad Batch ends, and then the Acolyte comes out, of course, May the 4th, as well as whatever else happens in May, coming off those heels of that. But let's kind of go through this. This trailer was just amazing. I watched it like tons, by the way. I watched this trailer a lot. Starting off, we see Jedi Master Soul, along with some Jedi Padawan kind of meditating. Like I said, he's helping them to meditate, to see, to vision what's going on. What do they see? Life and something else good is said by the one little youngling there. But then the one that I think is May says fire. So I think this is kind of foreshadowing that. But this is Master Soul. Master Soul. There was all the character reveals are in the data bank now of the major characters that were seen in the trailer. So Master Soul, it said that he is wise, highly respected, a powerful Jedi Master, strong in the ways of the Force, but he's going through an emotional conflict. Curious to know what that entails. Is he one of the ones that maybe is starting to see problems with the Jedi Order? We know that kind of happens later on. The Jedi are supposed to be, it's kind of like that church and state thing. They get connected to government, which a lot of Jedi leave the Order because they don't feel that was appropriate. And maybe that's the conflict. Maybe that's the emotional conflict. Maybe this is like the start of what we see with that conflict in the Phantom Menace, which basically is the opening, the little breaking point of how Palpatine's able to kind of take control without them knowing. But Jedi Master Soul opening up here. We see him a couple times in the trailer as well. This scene, I believe, is May, I believe, in this one, kind of walking into kind of like a cantina, like a bar or cantina. Um, the planet here looks like, if you look out in the back, it almost looks like it could be Batu, which would be really cool if Batu um, is uh, is in this series. A lot of, like, there's a couple different scenes in the villages that just have this Batu feel. Um, which I would love to actually. That would be really cool to have Black Spire Outpost. You know how many people would come to Galaxy's Edge if Black Spire Outpost was actually in a live action series? Their attendance would go up. And then we see a familiar face outside of Star Wars in here, that being of Carrie-Anne Moss. Um, really cool. I forgot. I don't know if they announced that she was in this, but really cool to be able to see her. She is playing a Jedi Master. Jedi Master Indara, I'm guessing, is the pronunciation of her name. Jedi Master Indara. Not much is said about her in the databank quite yet, except for that she has great physical and mental skill. So, very, very obscure as to her character. We see her a lot in the trailer, so I don't know if that's deceiving, but it looks like she's one of the ones that gets hunted down. I think Master Soul as well, maybe, possibly could be one of the ones. I don't know. It was hard to tell some of the scenes if it was actually Soul and one of the other characters that was introduced as well. But it was really cool to see Carrie-Anne Moss. We know that there's a little bit of a battle that happens there as well. So good to see her in Star Wars. I think she'll make a great. She's been in some Marvel stuff, and of course we know her from the Matrix as well. So and then here is May again with the daggers. With the daggers in this one. On the data bank, it says of May's character that she gets swept up into a sinister mystery, one that puts her into the center of a conflict in unexpected ways. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, is it deceiving that she's the Acolyte, or is it, is it possible that she's being accused and she's not? I don't know. It looks like she's the one that's like fighting them, but is she on the right side? Is she? I think. I don't know if this trailer is really deceitful or not, but this is kind of a little bit further into the scene that we saw 2 slides ago with her entering into. It looks like this is the same location. Again, very Black Spire Outpost feel, I think, anyway. But yeah, I think it's Black Spire or not. I have no idea. It'd be really cool. I think this was a really exciting moment in the trailer, seeing a Wookiee. Some people were thinking that this was Buriega, but from the High Republic, but it's not. It's not. Star Wars Celebration last year, we got to see this Wookiee Jedi come out onto the stage, and he was introduced as Kalneka. So this is Kalneka, who is a Wookiee Jedi. It said in the databank that he's a loner who lives a solitary life. So is this Kashyyyk? Possibly. Don't know. I don't think the trees look like Kashyyyk, though. The Kashyyyk trees are a lot larger, so possibly a different planet. Maybe he lives somewhere on the outer rim. I'm guessing he's probably one of the ones that's getting hunted down in a way. But yeah, it'll be cool. We didn't see him with a lightsaber in any of in the trailer, but we see him a couple times in the trailer. So it'd be cool to see Kalneka as well. Speaking of Kalneka and being in the trailer elsewhere, this scene right here, which says a lot. So we have We have two Jedi that we don't really know who they are yet in this scene. But we have Master Indara, Kalneka, and then we have some characters that we kind of get to see speak a little bit later in the trailer, which I believe have a lot to do with who the antagonists are in this series. But again, this looks a lot like Black Spire Outpost to me. Just think of an old Black Spire Outpost. More rustic. Like it has a feel of Black Spire Outpost to me. But the character, like all the way to the left there, we see her a little bit later in the trailer. But if you look, don't they look like Night Sisters? The three in the back, and if you look, they're like holding like the bow and arrow type of thing. I didn't notice that until I actually like stilled it and like watched it scene for scene. But they totally look like Night Sisters, which I think is going to be a big part of this story, the Dathomiri. Again, we're getting a lot of that in Ahsoka. There's hints to that in the databank entries in the trailer, and I think that is going to be some Night Sisters. So, which makes it so much more exciting. Kind of going back to a little bit of the two scenes that we've seen separate of May and Master Indara, but this is the fight between the two that happens somewhere in some little marketplace. We got a lot of that in the trailer, which was really awesome to be able to see. And then that character in that one scene with the possible Night Sisters, again, this like cult. I mean, look how they're like looking at her and like kind of like worshiping her. We find out who this is. This is Mother Anastasia, I guess. I don't know. We don't know the pronunciations of these characters yet, but Anastasia maybe. And they actually do call her Mother in the databank. So, we know that term to be connected with the witches of Dathomir. So there's a lot of look to her that she is a great mother. So again, Dathomiri possibly being a big part of this darkness, this dark side, this dark magic, dark force that rises up against the Jedi Order as maybe the antagonists of the film. That it might be they're the ones that are backing it, or it could be some side group in the middle. But Mother Anastasia, it says of her on the databank that she's the leader of a coven of witches who value their independence and the preservation of their beliefs and powers. So maybe the Jedi kind of step in and kind of get themselves over their head, maybe looking for something else and kind of stir up trouble with this group as well, which may lead to why the Dathomiri do not like the Jedi. We know that Ventress was kind of like a peace offering for the Jedi and the Dathomiri. Ventress was kind of offered up to be trained as a Jedi so that the Jedi would kind of leave Dathomir alone. So maybe this was the start of the conflict. Maybe this was the start of the conflict that we kind of learned of here. Another shot of May. Again, the child, the youngling, in the beginning saying that she sees fire when she's closing her eyes. This kind of, I think, kind of carries back to that. Her running through the woods and seeing fire. Maybe this is the vision that she saw when she was a youngling. Another great shot of May, again, looking like Octo. Looks so much like Octo. Are we going to get some Porgs back? Are we going to see some Porgs? I'd love to see some Porgs again. Who doesn't love some porgs? But love the look of her character. Love the look of her character. Really cool. And another shot that again looks exactly like the area with Luke and Rey on Octo. I mean, the standing water. Who is the character in the distance? We do not know. We know that it's definitely May in the foreground. We don't really know who that is in the distance. Be interesting to see who that character is. I think that's going to be a key to what's going on in this series. We get some other characters introduced with these three here. I mean, I don't know who the one Jedi is on the left, but we get some new other Jedis here. Jedi Knight Yord is the one in the middle. When I first saw the trailer, I was actually thinking Kai Brightstar and hoping that it was an older version of Kai from the Young Jedi Adventures, because I would have loved to have seen some connections with Young Jedi Adventures and the Acolyte, like seeing maybe some of those characters grown up and maybe one of them be, who knows? I mean, we could get some cameo appearances, but and you know what? Young Jedi Adventures is renewed, so maybe we'll see some of these characters younger or show up in those kids' adventures as well. But Yord is a Jedi Knight and Guardian from the Jedi Temple. So it's interesting, he's a Guardian of the Jedi Temple. We know the Guardians usually carry the yellow lightsabers. We've seen yellow lightsabers. I don't know if he had a yellow lightsaber in this trailer or not. I know somebody had a yellow lightsaber. So the Temple Guards had yellow lightsabers. So it'd be interesting to see if he was the one with the yellow lightsaber. I don't remember if he was. I'm going to have to watch it again and find out. Oh, darn, I have to watch the Acolyte trailer again. But it says of him in the data bank that he's an overachiever and a rule follower. So, I mean, I guess if you're a Temple Guardian of the Temple, you'd have to be a rule follower, right? And it also says his need to be a by-the-book Jedi can cloud his mind. So I have a feeling that he's going to get deceived in a way, possibly. And then the other Jedi that we see there is actually just a Padawan. So not yet a Jedi Knight. But Jackie is that Padawan there to the right. She is the apprentice to Master Saul, who we saw in the beginning and then of the trailer. And it says, although she is young, she projects calm and conducts herself with maturity. So I have a feeling she actually might be a very important character as far as the light side of this series. So, and then the character that is not new, but now finally in live action, who's been part of the High Republic series, is Jedi Master Vernestra Rowe. I think. I don't know if you pronounce that right. I don't know if there's been any audio books. I'm sure there has, but I have not listened to any audiobooks with this character yet. But she is a returning character, and this character also known as Vern, Master Vern. Vernestra Rowe is an elder Jedi Master who has ascended the ranks of the Jedi from a teenage prodigy to a leader in the Order. She became one of the youngest Jedi Knights in the generation at age 15. Pretty cool. I'm guessing that some of this stuff is in the High Republic books, but again, I have not read much of them. She solidified her status as a prodigy when she took Imri Kantaros as a Padawan the next year. So at 16, she became a master. So pretty cool. She has a purple-bladed lightsaber that can change into a light whip, which would be really cool to see in live action. Kind of like those, I guess, kind of like those Praetorian guards from The Last Jedi. Kind of maybe something similar to that. Young Rowe led with unwavering faith in the Force and devotion to the Jedi Order, But in the year after the fall of Starlight Beacon, while mourning those lost in the destruction, including her own Padawan, Vernestra pulled back from the Order and shifted her focus to heal herself. That last statement kind of makes me feel that she may be going dark, and kind of disconnecting herself from the Order. I don't know if you I've been recently reading the Star Wars Legacy comics. So basically, Cade Skywalker, and it kind of mentions in there, and this, I mean, Rey did it, but this could have been more of like a dark side trait, swaying to the dark side. But like the Force healing yourself has been explained in the Legacy comics that it's more of a dark side trait. So is it a mental healing? Is it physical and mental healing? I don't know. I feel that she might be a key to this whole darkness that happens. Even though she's in Jedi robes, but I feel that that's a slight. My predictions are that she is going to be a big bad in this film, or in this series, and I don't know. Losing a Padawan can be a lot, and I just have this feeling that that's going to happen. But I hope everyone's excited about the Acolyte as I am. I am super excited about it. I've been excited about the Acolyte, I think, the most since it's all these new series have been announced. I think I was more excited about the Acolyte than I was Ahsoka, honestly, and I think I kind of still am. I think it's just in a totally different era of Star Wars outside any of the movies. It's not in between anything. It's completely outside of the Skywalker saga, which is why I'm so excited about it. There was one interesting comment made by the series creator Leslie Headland after the trailer was shown. She actually said, quoting her, "Whatever you think the Acolyte is, it's not." So I'm curious to know what everyone thinks the Acolyte is. At first, my thoughts were, when I first heard about it, is I thought the Acolyte was part of the Sith. But I'm not thinking that anymore. I'm thinking there's like no ties to the Sith whatsoever in this series, which I think a lot of people feel that is what it is. And I hope it doesn't disappoint anybody, but I feel that this is not going to have anything to do with the Sith at all. Nothing whatsoever. That is one of my predictions, that there is no Sith involvement at all. Yes, there's red lightsabers. That does not mean that there has to be Sith. Dark side users, yes, but I don't think there's going to be actual Sith in this. There's not going to be anything about the rule of two, none of that at all. There's going to be Jedi that go dark, yes. Dark Jedi, dark magic, whatever ties to Dathomir, the Night Sisters, all of that stuff, yes. Sith, nothing. I don't think there's going to be any Sith in this series at all, just from that comment alone. But I kind of was feeling that way anyway. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that? What do you think about her comment? Do you think it's just to throw people off? I don't know. I guess we'll find out June 4th. By the way, the trailer, I think I got through all the characters, didn't I? I think. Let me see. Talked about May. Talked about Master Soul, Endara, Kalneka, Master Ro, Yord. Oh, there was one other character that was shown in the trailer. I didn't have any pictures, but I guess it's pronounced Kimir, maybe. He was showed in the trailer. It says about him that in the data bank, he was one of the other ones that I didn't talk about. But Kamir is a former smuggler who now makes his living as a trader, procuring unusual things and enjoying a life of leisure. The shot of him was one of the shots that I really thought of Batu when I saw it because of the little panels on the wall, which really look like a lot of the panels in Black Spire Outpost, which made me think that we were going back to Batu. But yeah, so that was the only other character out of the other ones that I had all mentioned and kind of read you the descriptions in the databank entries. All of those are on the StarWars.com databank to look at with those stills. By the way, the trailer, it was announced today. It hit a all-time record for Star Wars trailers, 51.3 million views in the first 24 hours. 51.3 million views in the first 24 hours. So I think everyone is just excited, as I am. So I'm already over an hour, but I'm going to go ahead and finish this up with some quick other announcements that happened kind of today. But Darth Maul, Black, White, and Red, issue number 1, gets released April 24th. There's exclusive looks of that on StarWars.com. One of them being right here. Really cool little shot. I love the coloring of this. I love the whole idea of it. We know Maul, Black, the red, but the whole thing being in that color, there's a lot of really cool excerpts of that. But yeah, so let me switch my camera real quick because I'm tired of this view. And because I want to also pull up something else real quick. Because there was a couple other things that were like released today. One thing today was the day 1 of the Star Wars event on Brawlhalla, which is a free game on a lot of systems. I have it. I have not played it yet to see what it's all about. I've never played the game at all. But yeah, that event was available starting today. So if you know what that is, if you're big into that, yeah, you can check that out. So, but yeah, Brawlhalla, that event. And then it is week 2 of Imperial March. I keep wanting to say Imperial March. It's week 2 of Imperial March. There's a couple other releases today. I'm going to go ahead and actually share the screen just so I can run through these real quick. Some of them really looking kind of cool. I like a lot of the stuff that's here this week rather than last week. So, I don't know. I mean, I'm a big fan of one of them, so I had to really hold back with self-control today with no credits that I have. So I couldn't go ahead and tabs. Sorry. There we go. But yeah, Imperial March. So there's if you love jewelry, earrings, rings, things like that, there's a new Dark Side collection by Girls Crew. Some really cool looking stuff here, honestly. But yeah, studs, rings, a lot more cool Vader stuff, cool Dark Trooper Kylo stuff. I love whatever that is right there. It's like almost like that's really cool too. Anyway, cool jewelry. And then with the Acolyte being revealed, we got some Star Wars Black Series releases, 6-inch figures by Hasbro. May, in parentheses, Assassin. So sometimes figures give away some things. So yeah, so she, her inspiration is coming to 6-inch figures. Other reveals, but not pictured. Jedi Master Soul, Jedi Master Indara. Soul being the master of um, the Padawan. I can't remember her name now. And then Indara, the one played by Carrie-Anne Moss, will have 6-inch scale figures, Black Series figures released. I guess they got released this week. Thrawn Alliances miniseries by Marvel released. So Grand Admiral Thrawn returning in that miniseries from Marvel Comics, written by Timothy Zahn and Jody Houser. So Timothy Zahn does really well with the Thrawn stories. So that'll be something to look at. Vader's Castle, Star Wars Vader's Castle, the Deluxe Library Collection by Dark Horse. So the Vader's Castle tales being brought together all in one place. This actually comes out September 24th, but you can pre-order it now. So that's why that release is happening. And then what really was hard for me today, the Dark Side Collection by Roosevelt's was released today. These 3 shirts, as well as a few more, came out and was released today at 4 p.m. I went on and saw them. I love this shirt right here. This one's really cool. There's another one too with like the plans. It has like the Death Star, the AT-ATs, and things on there. It's a dark side one as well. But this one, I really want this shirt so bad. I just don't have the credits to do it. So, maybe on a if it's still available when I maybe have some credits or whatever. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, so that is about it. I'm over tonight, but there was a lot to talk about. It was so great. Thank you for watching, whoever joined in, because I know you've been here for a while. Feel free to talk. I always like when people say hi. That way I know who it is. But it's been great. It's been good. A lot of Star Wars stuff this week with the Acolyte and Bad Batch. Got a great episode of the Bad Batch next week to talk about. That is this week's episode, where they go back to Florida. No, I'm just kidding. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. It's great. We'll talk about it next week. And we'll see what else gets dropped. Who knows? You never know. You never know what kind of things are just going to be released and talked. And it's just so great to be a Star Wars fan. So great to be a Star Wars fan. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching now. Thank you for watching later. Please subscribe to Space Oats Live, a Star Wars podcast. I do this every week. And yeah, also follow me on Instagram, the Crucial Crew member. I'm everywhere else as well. X, TikTok, everywhere. Crucial Crew something. But if you go to my Instagram, you can see my link tree and get all of my social medias. But mostly I post on Instagram on a daily basis. Star Wars, Disney, all sorts of fun stuff around Florida. Just what I'm doing. So, by the way, the drink tonight was going to be bourbon. But then I just grabbed a beer. I was drinking, actually, this really cool hazy beer hug by Goose Island. Really good hazy IPA. Really good. Love a good hazy IPA. Thank you all for watching. We will see you next week. Until next time, watch some Star Wars, listen to some Star Wars, read some Star Wars, play some Star Wars, do something Star Wars. And don't remember, whatever you're doing, remember, may the stars light your way. Have a great week, everyone. I will see you next week.